The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hello, everybody. I hope that you're well tonight. I see that many of you have made the time to come and join me, so I'm really excited about that. I am going to record this session, and I'm very excited to be doing the art of booking because this is definitely one of the skills that we need to learn, and it is a skill. Um, I just want to let you know too that I probably won't be able to answer any questions during this webinar, but I think that maybe the best thing to do is to post them on Facebook so that everybody can see all the questions and then they can see the answers to it. Okay, so we'll get started. Okay, so the art of booking, it's definitely a skill. It can be taught, but it's just like riding a bike. So you need to learn how to do it. And if you can remember way back when you were a child and you didn't know how to ride the bike, and you were fairly scared probably about riding the bike, but somehow you just got on and did it. And you learned how to do it, and then you remembered how to do it. And that's pretty much the way with bookings, and it is learning the skills of this industry. So, what are the systems for our bookings? Disciplining. It's a discipline, and you have to make it a habit. And what do we do with a habit? You have to make a habit, you have to do it for 31 days, every day. It doesn't matter what it is, whether it's I see on Facebook at the moment a lot of the 100 days of happiness or 100 days of gratitude. It's doing that every day to make it a habit. So making um, doing bookings and talking about bookings all the time is just part of the habit that you use in this business. Use the guidelines and the words and say the words step by step as you go. I was thinking also how much we do with hostess coaching, and we spend a lot of time on hostess coaching. We talk to our hostesses, we send her follow up information, we send her a confirmation letter, we email her, we Facebook her, we get her to do an event, we talk to her about how many people are coming, what's happening, all of those sorts of things. But sometimes we don't spend nearly enough time on actually getting the bookings because sometimes, particularly with Park Lane, the bookings are so easy to get. People volunteer themselves to have a booking that we haven't actually learnt how to do it, let alone how to become disciplined to do it as well. Recruiting um, is a feeling. And when you're excited, you recruit. And there's lots of recruiting going on at the moment. And particularly, we know that new recruits, that is the best time for them to actually recruit because they're excited. They don't necessarily know a lot, but they know the feeling of excitement. And so that is the best time to get their bookings and to talk to other people about joining. So, how much do we focus on the positive feeling of our opportunity? Well, sometimes it's a little bit like the first love, isn't it? When we're in love for the first time, we talk about that boyfriend all the time and we talk endlessly. Our families, we drive them mad, we drive our friends mad, we're talking about them all the time. But sometimes we forget about talking about our opportunity all the time. And passion, we talk about the passion of promoting people. It says that I'm all in the passion. That when people have got passion, there is no, well, I wonder what she's doing or I wonder what he's doing. You know by the passion that they display or they talk about. Um, and when we talk about Park Lane and the opportunity, we usually talk about the big picture. We talk about becoming a manager, we talk about the overseas trips, we talk about the extra income, we talk about going to convention in Chicago or Las Vegas. And so people know that we're very passionate about our business. And we plant the seed very early with our recruits about being a manager and having all of the other benefits that they have to go along with that. And as I was saying before, booking is a skill. It's just like riding the bike or learning to swim. I was just thinking about riding the bike, but I was also remembering when I was young and learning how to swim. And we lived in the country and we used to go down to the local river. And there was sort of a fast flowing bit, but there was a little side bit that went through the rocks, and we had a little bar there. And when we were young, that's where we learnt to swim because it was nice and safe. But the more that we did it, the more we learnt how to do it. And then we could go into the bigger river with all of the other big kids. The other thing is that we need to look at the people who do it the best. Because it's all very well to think about the theory of things, but we need to learn from the people who are doing it. And good bookers never ask yes or no questions. They assume and they ask questions with positive choices. Let me go back for a minute. Because what I was going to say is, we don't ask questions that will give us a yes or no answer. And if you remember, you need to ask questions with the words that start with how, where, when, why, who, or what. Because if you start a sentence with any of those or with any of those words, people cannot answer yes or no to them. So if I say, and when would you like to book your show? They can't really say yes or no. They can say, well, I wasn't really thinking about it, but then we start the conversation. Or you say, what type of show would you like? I see that you've got your daughter here. Maybe we could do a mother and daughter show. So we're saying, who would you invite to your show? They can't say yes or no to that. Or how do you feel about having a show as it would give Karen her third booking? And again, it's about engaging in that conversation, because if people say, yes, that's great, but if they say no, you really have nowhere to go to continue that conversation. The top 3 reasons why people book. We need to remind ourselves of these, and we need to remember that they book to earn free products. The second reason is, and these are DSA statistics, but they would be exactly the same for the DSAA in Australia. To help the hostess. People like helping other people. So they like to know that their hostess or their girlfriend is going to get something extra. And probably the most important reason is number 3, because they like you. It's really important that they like you and they have a great time, because if they don't, and from your own experience, if you go into any retail store, if you don't like the person you're dealing with, whether you want it or not, sometimes you won't buy it. My brother and sister-in-law were buying a car recently, and his wife didn't like the salesperson. And so guess what? They didn't buy the car. Even though it was a great car, they went and bought the car somewhere else because they didn't like their manner. So remember that people are actually booking because they like you. They certainly love the Park Lane jewellery, but they like you. And I think one of the old sayings, which is one of my favourites, because I have many of them, is people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. So remember that one. You've got to be really likable. Look in the mirror and just wonder whether you would book with yourself. Um, the what's in it for me is really important. They need to know that they're going to get loads and loads of free jewellery. That's why they're going to do it. The second reason is what's in it for their guests, because sometimes hostesses have very graciously said, well, I don't really want those things for me, I'll do it for my friends. They want to know that their guests are going to get a good deal. Most of our hostesses have all already had the experience of being a guest at another show. And so, therefore, passing on to their friends what they're going to get is really important. So that's part of your role, to make sure that they are passing that on to their friends. Remember, Karen, how much you got as a customer when you were at Sharon's party? Well, just make sure that your friends know that they have, the same opportunity. And then the other thing is, what do I have to do? That's what my hostess wants to know as well. Um, I've done lots of parties where the hostess is just fantastic, except she's got 10 people coming and she caters for about 45, I think. And so making sure that your hostess knows that she doesn't have to do that. And we all know that that's preferable that she doesn't. Just a cup of coffee and a Tim Tam is probably great, and I can bring the Tim Tams. So, just remember what's in it for me, who's the hostess, what's in it for the guests, and what do I have to do? Really simple, because sometimes we make it much more complicated than it really is. Um, as I said, never ask the yes or no questions. Offer to pencil you in. This is where the most successful people who book really get the best results, because I can tell you from experience and from people that I talk to, if they leave setting that date until later, then you know what? It seemed like a good idea at the time, but maybe I got a bit carried away. So again, you want to get them to pencil it in. So I would say, look, Karen, what I'll do is let's pencil in a date. And if it's not okay with most of your friends, because remember that you can't, please all the people all the time. But if it's not okay with most of them, um, we can change it. But unless we have something penciled in, then when you ring your friends and they say, yes, I'd love to come to a Parkland jewellery show, when is it? Well, you've got nothing to tell them. So get that date penciled in, and you'll find that probably 95% of those dates that you pencil in then and there hold. Very rarely do they change the dates, because they realise that, as I said, um, they can't have everybody there. They're never going to have the perfect date. Um, Talk to your hostesses within 48 hours, and I know that I know that most of you do that. Whether it's, by a personal phone call, which is always best, whether it's doing the confirmation. I like personal handwritten notes in the mail. I was just talking to John today about that, and we were saying, people don't get mail, they just get bills these days, or most of them even arrive on the computer. But make sure that you're touching base. A handwritten note is always lovely, whether it's a confirmation or a thank you. Number 4, ask everybody. I know that there's some games that you can play, but I just ask everybody, and I make sure that I don't miss out on everybody. And you've heard me say, and you've heard Tom say, that if you leave out that one person, and if you left out me and you asked everybody else or half of the other people, I'd be saying, why didn't you ask me? What was wrong with me? Doesn't she want me to have a show? Whether I wanted to or not, people can take offence at that. So make sure that you ask everybody. Sometimes when you see that lady who's, you know, that she's giving you that look, and I just say, look, you know, it's part of my job. I ask everybody whether they would like to have a show. And when she says no to me, I say, look, if you ever change your mind, I would love you to give me a call. And I'll see you at the next show. Don't over communicate. In our excitement, we often, um, you know, want to tell them everything because it's so exciting. Um, so make sure that, you know, less is more. Keep everything simple, completely simple, so that people are not getting too um, stressed about what it is. Remember, if we go back to, you want to know what she's going to get, how her friends are going to benefit, and make it really simple. So just again, keep it really simple. Hmm. Just having fun with my PowerPoint here. Okay. Um, by asking those open-ended questions that start with what, when, where, when, how, you're going to have a lot of yeses. So once you've got your prospect or your guest in the mood of saying yes, then offer the opportunity to book a show. Always acknowledge their concern with the feel, felt, found. I know that some of you will know about this, but some of you mightn't have heard it before. But what it does is it creates empathy. I understand how you feel. I know many people have felt that way, but they found that it wasn't such, you know, it wasn't so complicated and they ended up having a great time. So just write those words down: feel, felt, found. A lot of people will say, I know how you feel. I felt the same way, but I found. But if you didn't feel that way, talk about somebody else. I know that many people feel that way. So just bring that into your language, because it doesn't matter whether you're um, talking to a customer or a hostess or somebody who's thinking about the business. Showing empathy is really important, and that will connect you with them. Help to solve their problems. I think this is really fabulous, because when people give me what I guess that we talk about in the industry as objections, it's really, they just want us to help them solve their problem. And their problem could be that their house is too small, or they have no friends, or they haven't got any time, or they haven't got any money, or maybe their friends haven't got any money. Um, these are just problems that they want you to help them to solve. So if they've only got a small house, well, that's okay. Maybe we could just have a really small private showing with 3 or 4 people. Or maybe we could go to a coffee shop and I'll shout the coffee. You know, this is a way of getting around and helping them, because sometimes they're just excuses, but most of the time they just want you to help them solve their problem, because it seems a little bit crazy to us, but maybe they just haven't thought of those alternatives. Um, so I guess that too, you know, you don't know it's an excuse until you have tried to solve probably 3 or 4 problems, and then maybe that's when it's just an excuse. But if we've solved the problem of their house is too small, so we can go to the coffee shop, how does that sound? How, remember the how open-ended question. How does that sound? Well, I'm not really sure. I haven't got much money. Well, most of my hostesses don't actually place orders themselves, because I'm going to give you so many free things that you don't need any money, and I'm going to shout the coffee. Then she might say something else. Well, I don't know. I haven't got much time. Well, look, we could do a really small private show at a coffee shop, and let's say that we can be in and out within an hour. And again, if we can't solve any of those problems, then maybe they're our excuses. But let's try and help them solve their problems first. When they come up with one situation, let's not just go, oh, okay. And always leave that door open anyway. Even if you feel that they've just made excuses, look, if you ever change your mind, I would really love to do a show with you. And close by offering the opportunity again with that, positive choice question. So, how do you feel about that? Again, you can't get a yes or a no response. They have to talk to you. And that's one of the skills of booking and getting people to talk. Where's my screen gone? Ah, there it is. Okay, so remember, you've got the prospect list is the best thing to work with. If you haven't got a prospect list, then start one. If it's I have mine on my computer. Years ago, I used to have it in an exercise book where I would put notes against people, and now I just tick them off as we go. And remember, when you do your prospect list, you must never make any decisions about people. Remember, it's our job to show and tell, it's their job to decide. So we've got friends, so this is the Franks. We've got friends, relatives, we've got acquaintances, and our phone, our address book in our phone is absolutely full of acquaintances. We've also got neighbours. And sometimes we just forget about our neighbours. And they're the people that we might talk to every now and again, but they're certainly the people that we see walking their dog, that we see as we wave when we're driving down the street. I know several of them in my street, except I don't know who they are. I know them by their dogs, and they know me by my car. So remember your neighbours. The kids, the parents of your children's friends. Hmm. Lots of those ones. Everybody's got children. It doesn't matter what size they are, but if they're young children and they're at school, well, then there's more of them, and there's lots of those. And then remember, your spouse or your significant other has a whole different Frank's list as well. So go through your phone, write your prospect list, and you will then have a never ending source of people to talk to. That is your living, breathing prospect list, which you're going to add to because you're always going to be meeting somebody along the way. I remember that I did a meeting many years ago, and one young lady had run out of bookings. And during the course of the day, I asked them to do their prospect list, and I would give them a prize at the end of the day. It wasn't anything fantastic. It wasn't $100 cash or a $300 piece of jewellery. It was just a small gift. And by the end of the day, this young lady had 95 people on her prospect list. Within 2 months, she had become a leader with a large team. And when I spoke to her, because she just did so fabulously well, when I spoke to her, I said, "So, how did you go with that prospect list?" And she said, "Sandra, I probably only worked through about 10 people." And because she worked through those first 10 people and she got so many bookings, and then she continued to get bookings from all of the shows she did because she became disciplined. She learnt the skill. She put everything into place. She spoke to everybody. She just continued on. And she never went back to that prospect list because she didn't need to. She was so busy. But it's the list that you keep adding to. You'll meet people all the time. Not necessarily at shows, but you'll meet them when you're shopping. You'll meet them in a coffee shop. You will meet them in all sorts of places. And you really must do yourself a favour and add them to your prospect list, because otherwise you will forget about them. Um, maybe I will take some questions now, but I would love you to put some questions on Facebook so that we can share the questions and answers. So, have we got any questions at all? I hope you can hear me. I think you can wave your hand or something like that. So, who's that? Oh, Chrissy, are you waving your hand? And Tanya? I'm not sure. Okay, I'm not sure if I can see any questions at all. So maybe there is none. Janine's waving her hand. Hi, Janine. I hope that you've enjoyed this evening, and hopefully our recording has been successful. And I will talk to you again. Have a great night and let me know what you put into place and have fun sharing all of this. Good night.